Same time window, Texas A&M visiting Notre Dame. Currently A&M 7-point underdogs in a return of a home and home that A&M, I believe, won last year pretty early around the same time. Total's 49 and a half in this one. A&M 7-point underdogs. What do you think about Notre Dame in their race to get back to a national championship?
Yeah, so Notre Dame won that game at A&M
Ah,
last year
yes.
with Riley
Thank you.
Leonard. Yeah,
Thank you for
they
the
won,
correction.
I think, on the
Sorry. Yes.
last. Riley Leonard maybe scored on like a quarterback keeper or something like that. Really good competitive game.
Thank you for the
Uh,
correction. I would hate to give the Aggies anything else to be excited about that they didn't deserve. So under.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but this is a great game. I really do like Notre Dame, but I wanted to get it under a touchdown. To be quite honest, I like the under as well. I mean, just looking at it from, I know it's only game two, but this is a must win for Notre Dame. They have to win this game. I think if all things were to hold, this will be the last ranked team that they'll be able to play. Obviously, Boise, they play Boise. They probably won't be ranked again because of their schedule in the Mountain West. They play USC, which could be ranked, depending on how they do in the Big Ten at that time. But as currently constructed, like they will face no more ranked teams. This is going to be completely different to get into the playoffs at 10-2 with no marquee wins than it would be, if they win in this game. So I think this is a must win for Notre Dame. They're coming off a bye. I think it's a great spot. Um, like I said, I think this is a must win. They had a week and a half or 2 weeks to prep. If I'm looking at A&M, I mean, I haven't been too impressed with A&M. If you look at the two games, they played Utah State and UTSA. They allowed 24 points to UTSA and 22 points to Utah State in the first two. And those are games were at home. UTSA, Robert Henry, really good running back in a group of five. He had a field day with this defense. Now they did go back and hold Utah State under 100 yards, but they don't have the caliber of running backs or offensive line that Notre Dame has. And speaking of offensive line, Notre Dame has to be a lot better in the trenches. They were whipped on both sides by Miami, so they're going to kind of get that together. CJ Carr, we talked about him and his role, and we faded him actually successfully at Miami. But now he's at home. He's got an extra 2 weeks to prepare. He's seen live action on the road. Now he's at home, first home start. I like the Notre Dame here. We just got to get it under a touchdown. And they need to give Jeremiah Love the ball more. We got to see him touch the ball at least 20, 25 times. I mean, 10 touches or 14 touches, I'm sorry, for 78 yards, 10 carries, 43 yards, not enough. He's got to touch the ball. He's one of the most electric running backs in the country. He's got to touch the ball more. I thought they made a concerted effort to kind of get CJ going on the road. I can kind of understand it, but I would rather settle him down, use him in play action, and put Jeremiah Love in a position to run. A&M's defense, good, but like I said, that was really troublesome to watch what Robert Henry was doing to them. And Jeremiah Love, immensely more talented. So I trust Notre Dame's offensive line and defensive line to kind of get things back together. A&M also outside the top 100 in third and fourth down success rate. So if Notre Dame can get in third and medium, third and short, I think they got a good chance of converting that. On the opposite side, Marcel Reed, like, are they going to make him like they're going to make him beat him with his arm? Like he's been throwing the ball a lot more. Again, he's had success, but this is a completely different secondary. One of the best secondaries in the FBS with Notre Dame. So I'm interested to see that kind of cat and mouse game between the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. Mike Elko was actually the DC here back in I think 2015 or something like that. So a little homecoming for him. But I like Notre Dame. Anything under seven. I also like the under. I think it'd be a grind out type of game. Both teams want to run the ball. Well, I'm hoping that that Jeremiah Love runs the ball. Sneaky. If you bet props, look at Jeremiah Love over his rush yards. I think that would be a good bet as well. But I like Notre Dame. I like the under.
Yeah, looking at last year's box score, A&M took a dominant 3-0 lead, then 6-3, and then that was their last lead of the game, actually. I don't know where I was getting all that sort of stuff. But Jeremiah Love, a touchdown with just under 2 minutes left and a late field
There we
goal
go.
to cement the game 23-13, which does point to another low-scoring game potentially here. Yes, change of venues and all that sort of stuff. Maybe with a favorite at home, you might see a little bit more scoring, but 48 and a half certainly gives you lots of room after 36 combined points last year, including a late field goal with 30 seconds left kicked to ice the game. I'm curious. So the Notre Dame lost on the road to Miami in the opener. does that, I guess, for the playoff discussion, where you think that's going later down, it's always, of course, tough to project how a schedule will look as you go through the
Yeah,
rest of the year. Um, Boise, you mentioned, probably not going to be ranked by the time Notre Dame gets there. Southern Cal might be,
yeah,
but
maybe.
may get eaten up in that Big Ten schedule as well. Do you think that Notre Dame gets any credit for their performance last year, and that might get them, of course, with their brand as well, as one of those potentials to steal one of those spots in the 12 team playoff? Or are you thinking that that's going to be so schedule heavy and that there's not really going to be that type of opportunity for Notre Dame?
Well, that's why I think this game is big. If they get this win, then and they run the table 11-1, then I think they're safe because obviously the two biggest games they split, which is fine. They're not in a conference, which is some people would say it's an advantage, some people would say it's a disadvantage, depending on who you ask. But I do think it kind of depends on what else happens in some of these bigger conferences because the SEC and Big Ten are obviously clamoring for more teams in, and the SEC has they have 6 or 7 teams who could possibly warrant that. Now, are they going to beat up on each other and kind of cannibalize each other is the big question. But that's why I think this game is so big for Notre Dame because at 10-2 with these two losses against the two best opponents on your schedule, just by power rankings or whatever the case you may be, like it's going to be really tough to put them in at 10-2 with no marquee win versus maybe a 10-2. Let's say if Oregon goes 10-2 or maybe Alabama goes 10-2, they're going to have these marquee wins in bigger games simply because of what they do in SEC or Big Ten. So I think it kind of depends upon what everybody else does, and not to mention, I mean, the ACC could have Clemson, SMU can kind of get back on the horse here. Miami, Clemson and Miami are both two, really good playoff contenders, I think. And if you go 10-2 and Miami goes 10-2, obviously they got the head to head. So I think it kind of just depends on what goes on around the conference. But that's why I say this is a must win. That way you have at least one win under your belt and you kind of just let everything else take care of yourself.